Hello, my name is Luisa, and this is my thesis project, Homo ex Humo. Homo ex Humo, meaning man from dirt, is a memento mori for the human disconnect from nature. It's an interactive public light sculpture using robotic movements to mimic real reaction times from plants. It does so to enrich the human perception of the slow time scale of plants through a felt embodied co-presence mediated through the movement of the human and the sculpture. This project came from the idea of the Anthropocene. In the last 100 years, our planet ecosystem has changed so much that philosophers and researchers right now are discussing whether to name the next geological era the Anthropocene, the human era. And my installation comes from a desire to help humankind reconnect and care more for the planet so that we may protect it better. And so to do so, I became initially interested in what people's personal relationships are surrounding empathy for nature. I'm sure we've all seen these images lately, news that are being shared about nature clearing up from human pollution. And here I've sorted out the fake ones. There are no dolphins in the Venice canals, but they are clearer and there's less smog over populated areas currently as we all quarantine for COVID. And these images are obviously being shared because we all need positive news. But I believe they're also being shared because we are feeling closer to nature right now than we have in a long time. When I began my research back in November, nature was the green stuff outside of the windows. It was plants and landscapes and all things just basically that are outside of the human body with little effect on human life. This is what I mean by the disconnect from nature. We are not really outside of it. We are an integrated part of it, as I'm sure we're feeling right now. And the thing is that as modern societies, we have been removing ourselves from nature more and more through urbanization and landscape planning and exploitation of resources in a process that has been ever faster. And today we're really seeing nature trying to survive on human terms. Here are images that I've taken around Brooklyn. My thesis is based on research, specifically the research presented in this book that details how plants communicate with each other and sense the world, using anthropomorphic language to establish empathy. And this approach works, but as I was reading, I realized that this too means that nature becomes understood on human terms, and I began to question really what it would mean to exist instead on plant terms. I came across one very important quote to me by Timothy Morton, and he inspired my entire prototyping process going forward. It reads, "If we could not merely figure out, but actually experience the fact that we're embedded in our world, then we would be less likely to destroy it." And to me, this reads as, if we could not just use words and knowledge to describe this, but actually sense nature on our bodies, sense the slowness, for instance, of plants on our bodies, we would be less likely to destroy it. So I began to move down this path, and I asked myself, what would it mean if humans tried to exist in the slow realm on plant terms? And this, of course, poses an obvious issue for the realm of knowledge in that we have a notorious hard time understanding other time scales than our own. As an example, this is a ginkgo tree, and you probably know it as the smelly street tree or the medicine tree, but it's also the resilient tree. Research has showed that this tree has survived extinction, and it is actually 200 million years old, making it the now oldest, now living tree in the world. Homo sapiens is only 300,000 years old, and the problem is that those are insane numbers, and it really doesn't help when I say that this particular tree can grow to 1,300 years, or if you plant it in the middle of human pollution in a downtown city area, it can grow to between 50 or 400 years. The average street tree only grows to 10, so hey, that's a lot longer. But really, even 10 years of plant time is hard to understand, and this is why I chose movement as a mediator in my installation. I began my prototyping process by studying time-lapse plant movements with the aim to recreate them mechanically. So here you see some of my prototypes. Observed that plant strength comes from the roots. It's almost like they're being pushed up out of the ground. And there's also a lot of wiggling towards the light, which really led me to use wire pulling as a method for my prototypes. And here you see the leaf movements that I experimented with, like this unfolding moment, using 9-0 wire and pull rods. And all these experiments of plant movements led me to the Mimosa pudica plant, which has one of the fastest human-readable responses. This is a real-time video of my own plant. And really, when I showed this particular video to others, the way that the plant drops its leaves upon impact elicits a very emotional response of empathy, which was very interesting. I was told, don't hurt the plant. And so I went forward by basing the interaction timing of my installation around my own plant's time scale. It takes my plant 6 seconds to drop, but it takes it 10 minutes to recover. And so throughout my thesis, I was often asked also, why do I use robotics? And other than the fact that real plants are too slow to observe and I wanted to use movement to take it out of the realm of knowledge, I believe that there's a noticeable absence of nature in my piece, just like these pieces, that speaks more directly to the disconnect of human to nature. And real nature really does tend to fade to the background of our everyday life, whereas this absence makes you contemplate. And I'm trying to create a piece of slow art here that makes us contemplate how our ever faster timescales are hurting nature. Going down the path of robotics, I spent a month CADing an open source robotic arm from scratch to use as the base of my branch. And then I began modeling a branch structure that could support this wire pulling method that I have been experimenting with. So here you can see that there is 2 cable runs, one for the electronics and one for the leaves, so that the two do not interfere. Here are the prototypes. The black one in the center is the final, actually. And simultaneously, I was doing material tests. I wanted to create a Lumia pattern that was akin to aurora that we know from nature. And I came upon this work by Michelle McKinney that uses brass mesh. And so after creating light tests to make sure of a shadow silhouette and the Lumia properties, I decided to use this material. So here you see the final version for the leaves, and this is the branch. And then this is the Lumia that is created. The Lumia is created when a branch is in good health, which means that it is completely recovered, like the mimosa plant. The installation works by measuring your rate of movement in front of each branch, and then each branch is capable of communicating with the other branches. The rate of movement determines if you're hurting it. This forces us to slow down to the same slow scale as the sculpture. If you don't, this will happen. It takes 10 minutes to recover, so my installation really punishes the usual see me behavior in interactive installations where audiences are kind of frantically waiting for a response. The movement design uses 2 motors. This was the first one that controls the immediate drop of the mimosa plant, and the second motor controls an overall health of the plant that is based more on a daily time scale, like when we forget to water our plants, using the metaphor of a houseplant. Because I found this is the one piece of nature that people are likely to have a direct empathic relationship with. So using the second motor here, you can see that the branch reaches much lower, making it look less healthy. And the goal is at a glance to be able to tell how each individual branch is doing on a whole wall of these. Now, I'm also using the light, as you can see here, and when a branch is in good health, you get the beautiful Lumia pattern. But the light is also used to signal other branches when one of the fast, harmful movements has occurred, mimicking sort of the electrical warning signals that are used in forests to warn other trees. And here I've sped up the video so we can see the response better. I want you to notice on the right, the lower health plant here that hangs lower as it comes back up to its initial position or its health position. And it also takes longer to recover than the 2 on the left that have higher health. So this project is an ongoing research project for me, and the branch is likely to develop. But it's really my hope that by installing this as a public sculpture, people who will pass by it daily will come to sort of care for it like they would their houseplant and seek to collaboratively keep it in good health by noticing their fast movement impact on it and by telling others about how their movements are impacting it. so that they may collaboratively be able to keep it in good health and they can enjoy its beautiful light by really slowing down collectively. Thank you.